Well, for more on this, I'm joined now by Infometrics Principal Economist Brad Olson. Hi there, Brad. Thanks very much for speaking with us tonight. I will cut to the chase. You are not a fan of the extension Hipkins has announced today. Why is that?
No, look, in my mind, this is extremely dumb economic policy, particularly because what we see here with the fuel excise duty remaining at that reduced level, it provides 3 times as much support to those on the highest incomes who don't need as much help as to those on the lowest incomes who need a lot more support, given the very high inflation that we see coming through at the moment. Of course, while it might not be a good economic policy, it is sure a good political policy, with our expectations now that not only is this policy going to go through until June, but realistically could push on even further given the elections in October, and it seems unlikely that the government will want to increase people's fuel costs a few months out from an election.
Wasn't it the obvious choice in terms of being an immediate and far-reaching policy, though?
In a sense, yes, although it's also strange to see government ministers today talk about how important the policies are, given that back in mid-December they all talked about how expensive they were, how unsustainable they were, and how they weren't making as much of a difference. So we've seen quite a U-turn or a backflip in policy there, and the only change, as the finance minister has outlined, was the Prime Minister. It might well be easy to do, but it is poor policy, given that we're seeing an across-the-board universal cut in those fuel excise duties. Realistically, though, more targeted and temporary support would have been better. Looking at the other policies, the half-price extension for public transport fares, I don't have as much of an issue about that. And importantly, the reduction in road user charges will ensure that transport costs don't spike even further, which could well have seen food costs increase. But that fuel excise duty cut really isn't a particularly good piece of policy. It is very unfair and untargeted, and it would have been better for the government to get money into those to those people that need it the most, rather than across the board.
Okay, other numbers out today. A slight rise in unemployment reveal. What should we read into that?
We're always expecting that those unemployment numbers can bounce around a bit. The numbers today increased to 3.4%. The underutilisation rate also rose. But we saw the fastest wage gains on record going back into the early 1990s. So in my mind, given that unemployment at a normal time would be around about 4%, the current rate of unemployment is still a lot lower than normal. The labour market is still tight. And although we might have seen things starting to turn around, we're not back to normal yet, and it's not time to pop the champagne, because we're still in the grip of a very challenging economic situation.
Yeah, bread and butter politics, not champagne at this stage, Brad. Thanks very much for your time tonight.